Don't forget to click that subscribe and bell icon to receive a notification each time I upload a new video. Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I've had a couple of days off. Normally I do my mission inspiration for the month on the first Saturday when the missions are launched. But Ian and I had guests over this weekend, so we decided I was going to take the weekend off completely and just have a nice bit of a relax for a change. So I'm doing my mission inspiration today. So let me turn over my overhead camera and I'll show you what the mission is and what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so this is the mission for May. Yes, we are in May, aren't we, Mike? Yes, we are. So this was one of the random missions pulled out from the pot. So even I didn't know which one it was going to be until we opened it up on Saturday. So the mission is Let There Be Light. So windows, sunrise, sunbeams, rainbows, lamps or candles, or anything to do with light or sun or shadow for that matter too. So yeah, and that's the three suggested colours there are only that, suggested colours. You don't have to use them if you don't want to. So this one kind of stumped me a little bit. I know I thought of it and I designed it, but it kind of stumped me a little bit and I couldn't really work out what to do. So I was thinking about light and then sunrise and sunbeams, and I thought, oh, sunflowers. Right, okay, now we're on to something. So that's what I'm going to do for this page. So let me just pop that, fold it back up, and I can pop it away safely with all the other completed missions that we've done so far back in that box. So this is my mission inspiration journal, where I've been doing most of the missions, bar one I think. I think I did Marches somewhere else in a different journal, but anyway, this is it. So this is one of the MDF Medite journal kits, just with the book rings in. I've not bothered with the spine or decorated it with any of the hinges or anything, so it's just like the plain journal. And I've already cut out my sheet that's going to fit inside the journal, and I've already used my cover as a template to place the holes. So this is what I'm going to be working on today. So I decided sunflowers. So I've got this sunflower stamp from Indigo Blue, which is a very old one. You can tell it's an old one because it's the old style laminate. They're now this kind of bluey colour. So this one dates back quite a few years, and it's very well loved, is my stamp. Very, very well loved. So I'm going to be using this onto my background, and I'm going to add some watercolours to it, which I don't often use watercolours. So if I do use watercolours, and then it's usually watered down distress inks or whatever, but I think I should be dusting off my Gansai Tambay today to do a little bit of watercolour in the background. But I also want to do some stamping and masking, but I'll explain what I'm going to be doing in a little while. So the first thing that I need to do is I also want to use an another small indigo blue stamp. Now I thought I had the laminate for this one, but I don't. But it's their Bumblebee. So that's what I want to use first. So what I need to do is I need to grab some stamping paper, which I'm not very organised today, ladies and gents, so you have to forgive me. There we go. This is just ordinary printer paper, just ordinary bog standard printer paper, and I've already attached my stamp to one of my Skinny Minis, which are the thin, flexible, really lightweight stamping blocks. And I'm just going to ink up the Bumblebee. I'm using Stays On Jet Black, so this is solvent based, bearing in mind I'm going to be using watercolours, so I don't want to be using any water based inks. So I'm just going to stamp that down up into that top right hand corner, just like that. That'll do. That'll do nicely. Okay, so now I've got that, I want to cut it out. I'm going to create a mask. There we go. So, but I'm not going to fiddle around with the legs. All I'm going to do is I'll just create the basic body shape. So this will take a few minutes to cut out, so I will whiz on to fast forward and I'll see you in a little while. Okay, so like I said, I've not cut the legs or the antenna because nobody got time to sit and cut that kind of detail. Unless you're really, really, really patient, which I'm not. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in my stamp press and I'm going to just hold down my sheet of paper that I'm working on. Okay, so we need to grab that bumblebee again, work out where I'm going to put it. So first of all, the sunflower, that's where the sunflower is going to go, like so. So I want the bumblebee to be just sat somewhere kind of like in the middle. So around about there is going to be ideal for this page, I think. So around about there, do we reckon? Yeah, that'll do. Okay, and now I can ink it back up again. And I have to admit, I don't do a lot of stamping these days with my art journal pages. I've done a lot of collage, but I haven't done a huge amount of stamping recently. Mind you saying that, didn't I stamp on last month's? I think I did do some stamping last month with the, I think I used the cinnamon swirl stamps that I'd got. Okay, so just stick that down there so we've got a nice impression for the bumblebee. Right, so now what I need to do is let that dry for a second and then I'm going to place this mask over the top of the bumblebee. I'll probably just add a little bit of a very, very low tack glue, and then I'm going to come back in with the stamp, with the sunflower stamp, which we said we'd put about there, didn't we? Like so. So that should do us, we're about ready. So, but first of all, I want to just let that ink just dry a little bit first. Okay, so the ink's had a little bit of time to dry. So I've brought out one of my Elmer's repositionable glue sticks. So this is just a little bit of glue on the wings and on the body. And it's not going to stick, but it will hold it in place long enough for me to be able to stamp over the top. Let's see if I can pick it up. More fingers and thumbs today. Okay, so is that in the right position? And I think that's near enough. You can't really tell, can you? Okay, so let's ink up the sunflower. Okay. And then stamp down And I can do a couple of these. It's not if I don't get it right the first time, or perfect the first time, look at that, the bumblebee has actually stuck to the stamp, which is quite funny. So let's lift that back off. Add a bit more of that repositionable glue, because it doesn't appear to have stuck all that well. I should still be able to get it back in the same place again. I know the bumblebee is quite large compared to the sunflower, but you know, artistic license and all that. Okay, let's ink up that sunflower once again. Let's get in there quick and down again. So I'll put some pressure in the middle, because there wasn't that much of a good impression in the center of the stamp. Okay, let's see what happens next. Right, so let's peel off the mask. Et voila. I think I'm happy with that. I'm happy-ish with that. Okay, so we can get rid of the stamp press and everything else, and then we'll just give that a second or two just to dry, and then we can come in with some watercolours. Okay, so here goes nothing. Right, I've got a jar of water for rinsing my brushes. I've also got two other small pots of water here just for fine tuning and final rinsing, just to make sure that my brushes are clean. I've got some small watercolour brushes here, and they're all got small handles, because when I'm painting I don't want the camera to try and focus on the end of the brush. So that's what sometimes causes some people's cameras to go out of focus, and when they've got their autofocus on their video camera, because the camera tries to focus on the end of the brush rather than what's down here. So I always either use small handled brushes, or if this was one of those long handled Dina Wakley brushes, as you can see, I've just snapped it in half just to stop it from happening. Okay, so colours I'm going to be using is the orange. So I'll take that pan out. I want the yellowy ochre one, and also I think we'll have that sunshine yellow one there. So three nice colours, but I also want green, so I'm going to use that dark green, which will pop there, and that light green. But for the background we'll use this kind of sky blue colour, which I've obviously used before. But for now that'll be it. So I can put the rest of these watercolours away, and as I said, they are the Japanese, yeah, you try and pronounce it, Gansai Tambei, I think. I don't really speak Japanese, so if I've got it wrong I do apologise. Okay, so the paper that I was using, sorry, I never told you about the paper, did I? Watercolour paper. It's actually mixed media cardstock. It's from Dale Rowney. It's 250 GSM or £169, but it's mixed media paper, which means you can use it for acrylics and watercolours. It don't matter. Alright, so those are the colours that we're going to be using. So the first thing I'm going to do is just to take some clean water and a clean brush. I'm not overloading the brush with the water, and I'm just going to just gently go around the outside with a little bit of water, just to soften. And I'll just do this side. Okay, and then grab another brush and then grab some of that blue paint, blue watercolour, and I'm just going to drop it into the water that's already there, and you can see it will just start to wick where the water is. And create that lovely kind of watery colour effect. But it's not really effect, it's what it is. So turn it round, and I can just rinse off the brush, get ready, just dip a little bit more, and I can go around just adding that water in. Softening it up. Just do it in stages. Don't have to try and do it all in one go. It's nice and kind of creamy watercolour. Look at the way it just wicks. It's lovely. Oh, sounds like Mr. Bentley's just come back in. Ian's been out this morning and he's taken Mr. Bentley with him, but they've just arrived back. I'm just diffusing and softening. I'm just letting it do its own thing. And yes, the paper is starting to kind of buckle up a little bit, but that's okay. Don't mind that. And then if you've got too much of a concentrated colour, you can just come back in with a little bit more water and just let it diffuse itself. Of course, we are doing this kind of like stylised. I'm not putting a stalk in or anything like that. I'm just going to concentrate on the actual shape itself. There we go. Just do a little bit at a time. It's more of that colour, and just watch it wick. So the watercolour won't go where there is no water, because it's got nothing to travel in. So you do have a little bit of a modicum of control as to where your paint goes. And like I said before, if you're a bit too concentrated, you can just come back in, add a little bit more water, and as the old saying goes, Bob's your uncle. Okay. So let's just do the top. Okay, let's grab some more of that blue paint, and then we can just start, look at that. Just start diffusing it down. There we go. So maybe just a little bit more concentrated colour over here. Not a huge amount. There we go. That's lovely. Don't mind that at all. Okay, so we need to just encourage that to dry just for a second or two. So I can use a heat gun, but just gentle. Okay, so my blue is pretty much dry. So I'm going to start adding some colour onto the bumblebee first. So all I'm going to do is just add some yellow colour into here. So I'm just going to take a little bit of water. I'm just going to drop it into those areas where I want the colour to go. Now, bearing in mind there's not a lot of space here, so I'm going to take a small brush and I'm going to take this mid kind of yellow colour, and then I'm just going to drop just a little bit of the watercolour into those spaces. Hello.
Hello. Oh, that's pretty.
Doing watercolour in.
Oh.
Mr. Benton had a good time?
Yes, a lovely time.
Okay, so just in that space there, and just like before, I'm going to let it dry, just like that. And then what I'll do is I can come in with a little bit of a darker colour when it's dry and just add that. So before I touch that again, like I said, I want to let it to dry a little bit, but let's just take some of this light yellow as a base, and I've just used the wrong brush there, look. Okay, shouldn't have put any colour in there. Actually, I used the right brush, but I shouldn't have put any colour in it. So we'll start just adding some colour or some water just around the centre of the sunflower and just brushing it up into the petals like so. Then I can grab my smaller brush, actually just use that Dina Wakley brush and get some of that yellow colour. Just get some juiciness going, and then we can just start to add it into that water. Can I remember how far I went? There we go. Just grab that water brush again. This time we can start just pulling it back a little bit just to diffuse it. Some more of that water. I'm not going to take it over those leaves. There's plenty for it to go around. Let's grab a small brush, let's get some water. And then we'll just start lifting it a little. The beauty of watercolours is that if you start light, you can go darker. So if you're a colourist, say for example with like Copic markers, then the principle is pretty much the same of starting light and going darker. So if you're au fait with like colouring with any kind of alcohol inked marker like the Copics or your Pro markers or any of those kind of ones, then watercolouring, or in my case colouring with watercolour, is pretty easy because you've kind of got the know-how, the technique even before you start. So I'm just adding some water onto there just to kind of diffuse it a little bit. And like I said, if your colour's too strong, you can always come back with a little bit of water and just diffuse it and move it around a little bit. That sounds like a Mr. Bentley. Hello there. No, he's just walked away. He's like, not impressed, Dad. Okay, so, like I said, just grab some water. And I've also got this tissue here, because what you can do is you can add your water to it. And if you want to remove some colour, just really gently, just dab it.
It's
you
raining.
See? Is it?
Yes.
Oh, and I've got washing out. There we go. And then we can just diffuse that, just lighten it a little bit. And we can just play with the light and the shadow. There we go. Okay, let me just dry that off. Okay, so my yellow is dry, so I'm going to bring in a couple of darker colours now. So I've got like an ochre colour there and an orange. So I'm just going to take a little bit of water on my brush and then just take a little bit of that orange colour. Take a little bit in the pan. And then, just a bit too much on the brush there. I can then start just darkening up some of those outer leaves. Just start playing a little bit with the shadow.
Bit of excitement there.
It was a...
Pouring in leads.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh dear. It's been lovely here. Again, a little bit too much. If you've got a bit too much colour, you can just diffuse it and just use the water to blend and shade out. Take a little bit of water on the brush. Darker colour on the outer. And then I suppose I really ought to make a decision before I go any further with this as to where my light source is going to be. So that's when I get it a little bit darker under the bumblebee. And then let's just take a little bit of that kind of ochre brown. Just add that in there as well. And I'm dipping between waters. Okay, so I think the light source will do coming from this side. So the top part of the leaf here is going to be the lighter bit, I think. So we'll start adding darker shades on this side of the leaf. And like I said, we can always come back in a little bit later and diffuse wherever we need to. And if you think you've got a little bit too much on, don't worry about it. Just have fun playing with the colours. See, way too much there, look. And as we get underneath, I'm going to go a bit darker. all the way. Give it a little bit of water and then we can just start to diffuse, and I keep using that word, don't I? Diffuse. But it's a good description for what you're actually doing. You're taking the colour, and instead of it being totally concentrated in one area, you're manoeuvring it and moving it. So I think there's a bit too much concentrated colour down there. So I'm just going to lightly dab it with my tissue. Just lighten that. There we go. That's more like it. And when all's said and done, I'm not entering into a competition. I'm not trying to create something which is totally lifelike. This is just, you know, it's an art journal page when all's said and done. All I'm doing is just having fun playing with the colour. I'm not going to get too hung up if I get a little bit in the wrong place. I can honestly tell you that the colour police will not be knocking at your door.
For this anyway.
Yeah. Just going to put a little bit up top there. I think that will do. So we'll take that other brush that's got a bit of a more of a knobbly top, if you'll pardon the expression, and we'll take some watercolour, and I'm just going to put a little bit down here, and I'm just going to take a very light swipe through the middle, and then just take a little bit more concentrated colour. Dab off, get rid of, because otherwise I'll put my elbow in it. And then let's see if we can find a bit more of a reddy brown. Right, what's this one? Number 46. That's a nice little bit of a reddy brown, so I'll just take some clean water. And let's just make up a little bit down here. And then I'm just going to dab it in. Just using the bristles of the brush. And I think I'm happy with the way that looks in there. Alright, so I'll get it dried off. Use the heat gun. Okay, so that's dry. So let me put number 44. Let's put these back into where I think they need to go. They are numbered. So if you can't remember where these went, number 44 went up there, and there's number 33 up there, lovely. Okay, so I've got the greens. So I'm just going to use that small kind of pointy brush. And then I'm going to add a little bit of that darker watercolour into that. Rinse off. And then just go in with the rest of that leaf there. And then with a lighter colour, a little bit of green, and then just drop it in. Let it do its own thing. Okay, so again, we need to let that dry. Okay, so I've brought in just another shade of green, just an even darker shade of green. And I'm just using one of the smallest watercolour brushes I've got. Just going to load it up a little bit, and then I'm just going to go underneath. Add a little bit of shadow, just to play off a little bit. Now as you can see, it is rather a dark concentrated colour. So I'm going to put some more water back on the brush, clean it off, put some more water in it, and then I'm just going to start bringing it out. There we go. There we go. I'm happier with that. So let's get that dry. Okay, so that green is now dry, but I'm bringing back that bumblebee mask that we used earlier. That's the royal we, by the way, meaning me. I'm just going to lay it back down again over the bumblebee, because what I want to do now, this blue area is nice, but it's a bit too plain. So what I want to do is I want to bring in another blue colour, a little bit darker. So this one is number 63, whatever that is. And I'm just going to add a little bit to my desktop here. Grab some water, and I'm going to do the usual. I'm going to start adding some sprinkles. And then where it's hit the sunflower, I can just dab it off. But you get that mottled kind of sprinkly effect in the background. There was a bit more water on that brush than I thought there was going to be, so I've got a little bit more than I anticipated, but it's fine. It's fine, it's fine, don't worry about it. Clean the brush off, because it will dry lighter. Okay, there you go. So it's not quite as dark as it was when it first went down, because it's kind of wicked and it's created those little kind of watery marks in the background, which I think makes it look rather sweet. But what we can also do is just take some clean water and flick that down on there as well, because it's water reactive, just like you can do with your distress inks. You can flick water onto your watercolour, just let it sit for a second or two so that it kind of can react a little bit, and then just roll a little bit of kitchen roll or bathroom tissue over the top, and look, it's ghosted, it's lifted and created, so you've now got dark areas and you've also got light areas. So let me try that again at this side. It may be a bit too subtle up there for you to be able to see it in any great detail. There we go. Just a bit more up there. Then just sit and leave it for a second. And then just taking the roll of tissue, just roll back over the top. You see how it started to make it look a bit more mottled. There you go, especially down here, look. You've now got lighter areas as well as darker areas up there. It's a bit more subtle, but it looks the bee's knees. Sorry, couldn't resist that one. I know.
No, I just understood that.
Yeah, couldn't resist that then.
Yeah, that was awful.
I know it was. Sorry, I guess I did apologise.
But not quick enough.
No, obviously not. Now, I also now need a pen. So I've got, seeing as we're using Japanese stuff with the Gansai Tambei, I've now got a foodie ball, which hopefully there's enough ink left in it. Let's grab a piece of scrap. Yeah, we've got stuff on there now. Okay, and I'm going to put some hand lettering on there. So we'll put across the bottom and I'll just sign it and date it. So it's the 10th today, 22. And there we go. And I'm not going to do anything else. I could put some dark splatters in the background if I wanted to, but I think I'm happy with the way that looks. But I did say I would come back in onto that bumblebee, didn't I? And add a little bit of darkness and shadow. So I'll do that before I go away. So there we go. I'll just grab a little bit of that reddish colour and we'll just add just a tiny bit just in there, just because I did say I would do. It just adds a little bit more dimension to the bumblebee, doesn't it? So there you go. So that's going to be my art journal page for May. Let there be light. For me, it's sunshine, and for sunshine it means sunflowers. There we go. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me create that watercoloured art journal page. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you'd like to join us over in our Mission Inspiration Facebook group, then that's the URL on screen now, but there is a clickable link in the description area below, so you can just click that link and then pop over to our Facebook group and ask to join. Don't forget we have 2 challenges per month. We've got the main one at the beginning of the month, and then there's a mid-month mini mission halfway through. So that's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.